What's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Hope you're having a great start to your Thursday morning. As always, when we have very active weather, I try to double up my videos. Keep in mind, the morning videos are more just going over the latest model guidance from overnight into this morning. In the evenings, I try to make a more detailed breakdown of what is actually going on instead of just showing the latest updated model guidance. And I dive a lot more deeper into what's driving this as far as steering flows, why it could strengthen, why it couldn't strengthen, and just the more dynamics of the system in general. So if you want the latest updated information from that, check out the last night's video, and that is some relatively updated information. I have more updated information obviously this evening on what's driving this and what is going on. So first off, I made a video last night. I mentioned something about my delivery and me talking about how I deliver these videos. I had a lot of positive feedback. I woke up at like 4:30 and I was just reading through all the comments, and it's just amazing the amount of support y'all give me. And it just goes back to what I've said before about this being like a family atmosphere to me. So just thank y'all. Thank y'all for the kind words. It definitely is very appreciated. So I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for everybody who said all the nice things. So if you guys have not subscribed, I make updated videos every single day. And like I said, I double up my videos also sometimes. And like the video if you like it. Also, I don't mention this often, maybe once every 2 weeks. There is a way to donate to what I do. Any kind of funds or anything goes to just putting back into my equipment. It also goes to storm chasing, which I do plan on chasing this storm here in the next few days. So there's that. I don't like to talk about it much. It makes me feel uncomfortable, but there is a way to donate to what I do. It takes a lot of time to do this, but y'all's support is appreciated enough, trust me. So let's get going here. So right now, I can tell you this is probably going to be a tropical depression by the end of the day, most likely. Might be wrong, but most likely. Model guidance is sped up with what is still 99L invest. And it's looking like the northeast convection is being the dominating energy here, as opposed to any kind of southerly energy. If you're waking up in Jamaica this morning, you're probably getting some nasty weather. And this is basically just a strong tropical wave moving right over you and an organizing tropical wave moving over you. So I wouldn't be surprised if you guys are waking up to some nasty weather. I don't have any kind of radar pulled up over that area, but I know I got a lot of people who comment from the Jamaica area. So I hope you guys are faring well this morning. Also, this is going to move into the Cayman Islands. So if there's anybody in that area who's watching, you're going to have some nasty weather moving later this afternoon, this evening, most likely. But it is really looking like there's no low-level circulation yet, and that's probably why this isn't dubbed any kind of tropical storm or anything. It doesn't really look like one anyways right now. It's interacting with a little bit of dry air right here. So there's a little bit of some factors that's helping slow down any kind of relatively intense development in the short term. But it is still having some big-time convective explosions right now, and it's firing off, and it's developing quickly, and it's going to develop fast over the next couple of days. So let's look at the latest updates. So I'm looking at the actual 2-day outlook now, and it has a 90% chance to develop in the next 2 days. This is actually decreased, but we're really talking about this because this is going to be a threatening hurricane here in the next few days. And yes, I'm just going to go on and say it. This looks like it's going to hit the lower 48 as a hurricane for sure. How strong it's going to be, well, we got to figure that out. But there's a 90% chance of this developing. I want to mention, if y'all hear my kids in the background, we're getting ready for our morning. So hearing the loud outburst, I do have 2 little girls, so just kind of is what it is with that. But the 90% chance of this developing. So they're pretty much telling you this is going to develop a lot quicker than what was previously thought. So let's look over the latest model guidance, the ensembles, and we're not going to dig deep on what exactly is driving this. I got you a video tonight for that. If you want to watch my latest video on that, check out the one from last night, and I got you covered there. So the latest GFS, we're getting into, this is right now, this morning, getting into this evening. It's showing it developing the latest GFS into almost a full-blown tropical storm as early as overnight tonight. This will be Tropical Storm Ida, moving into the Cayman Islands, actually making impact as a strong tropical storm, maybe a low-end hurricane by tomorrow evening. This is just what one scenario says, the GFS. Into Cuba, this inner piece of energy has ticked well northeast. It's incredible. It really is as far as what it's trended. You go back to 2 days prior, look how much further southwest it is. You go to the most previous run now, this continues to tick northeast. You can't rule out the coastal areas of Alabama and parts of the Panhandle of Florida out at this point. You really can't. But the thing is even though it looks like it ticks northeast, what happens here is you have a strengthening storm, and then it has the potential to move more west-northwest, so more west than north, and really starts to eyeball places like New Orleans and places like that. And we'll check out the strength of this. You have a sub 960 millibar storm, which at this point is pushing a Category 3 hurricane, which is major status per the latest GFS, and strengthening upon landfall. Now, there's one good thing about this, is the fact that it has a little bit lesser time of the water, as if it took this route and kind of just meandered and then did this. That would be a little bit more time over what is a bathtub water conditions in the Gulf of Mexico. So this has it making landfall as early as Sunday afternoon. Now, you look at a couple runs prior to this, say basically the morning run from yesterday, it still has it in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico. Now you go to the most updated run, and it has it making landfall as early as Sunday afternoon. So me personally, I have to figure out a plan very quickly, because this is trending much quicker. And the bad thing with that is it's a little bit misleading for the public. So the public has a little bit less time to prepare, especially if this is going to slam areas who've already been hit by multiple hurricanes last year. So yes, this is the upgraded GFS that's ticked much more east down the eastern side of the Gulf of Mexico. So you guys in Mississippi got to watch out too. Look at the latest GFS ensembles. This is basically the GFS ensembles. They've really consolidated decently here. Either way, there's really none going into the Yucatan Peninsula anymore. You know, yesterday you still had a few. The day before you still had a lot. You know, this morning there's nothing. In fact, if you're on the western end of Cuba, you're probably going to get impacted by a tropical system here. They're still pretty tight, and I tell you what, they have consolidated a lot in the medium term. But basically, the more northeast a storm you have, the more chances you have a landfall a little bit earlier, meaning Sunday into Monday morning. The more west this goes into Texas, then obviously it's the longer this storm has to go. Then maybe you're looking at more Monday into maybe Tuesday. But I would say 60 to 70% of these members run right into Louisiana. And, you know, there's obviously that part of Louisiana that sticks pretty far out, the swampy areas just south of New Orleans and places like that. So, this is looking pretty grim. It really is. You look at the latest Euro. The Euro isn't quite as east as the GFS, but check it out. It does kind of the same thing as the GFS, not quite as strong. Runs maybe a low-end tropical storm into Cuba, gets into the Gulf of Mexico, and strengthens rather quickly. You know, and then makes landfall Monday morning, a little bit further west than the latest GFS, as a 958 storm, which would be a high in Category 2, maybe. Well, no, that would probably be a Category 3 hurricane. So, you know, not only is it really looking likely we're going to get a landfalling hurricane here in a few days, it's looking likely it's going to be a major hurricane. But that's still, I would consider that still just a possibility. I don't think we're ready to say it's going to be likely that it's going to be a major hurricane. But I will mention this. Laura was showing the same kind of things. It was going to make landfall like a Category 2, Category 3, but within 24 hours, 18 hours, it rapidly intensified, and all model guidance had to catch up to a very much more grim situation, and it ultimately ended up making landfall just shy as a Category 5 hurricane, 4 hurricane with 150 mile per hour winds. But you look at the latest SpaghettiOs of the GFS ensembles. It's basically just another way to look at the ensembles. And you still have a lot of members off this, still running into Texas. So don't get your guard down if you're in Texas. There's also a lot of members going into Louisiana. So don't quite get your guard down if you're in Texas yet. I'm not saying that. I'm definitely not. This is another way to look at the GFS ensembles, but more of just lines here, and does a great job. It shows a lot of members going to either Texas and Louisiana, and really this does a better job of showing how many members really go into Louisiana. Now you look at the storm in the Eastern Pacific. This may or may not have impacts of this storm. Basically, Ida is going to try to create its own environment, and we're going to dissect that tonight. We did last night too, but we're going to talk about more tonight. It's going to try to create its own environment to the point where the outflow off this storm in the Pacific may not even affect what will be Ida. You look at the latest Icon, which is the German model. And like I say before, it's not a very respected model, but it's still model guidance at this range. Probably in the next day, we'll probably stop looking at this because it's just not really warranted. Just focus on the GFS and the short range hurricane models, which I have not been showing much. I just don't feel comfortable showing them crazy hurricane models yet, like the HWRF model, which wants to show a Category 5 hurricane every time, which may be the case, but I'm just not ready to show that. That's crazy. But the Icon runs it in as probably a Category 1 hurricane, so it's not quite as aggressive as early as overnight Sunday into Monday. I don't know why I have the Icon run up again. Let me switch this to the Canadian model. Give me 1 second, let this load. But the Canadian model, here we go. It initializes the storm a much weaker, but tries to intensify it, but it's a much weaker storm than all the other models. And this tries to make landfall as early as Sunday afternoon and evening as maybe a Category 1 hurricane. You look at the latest model intensity guidance from what will be Ida here in a day. Almost, not all, but a lot of the guidance has it becoming at least a hurricane. It's really hard to even pay this a whole lot of attention because there is pretty large confidence that this is going to be a hurricane. But here's the latest hurricane model guidance, and most of them have it going into Louisiana. Most do. I will briefly mention, without going deep into it, the Gulf of Mexico is like a bathtub. This is temperatures in Celsius. 31 degrees Celsius is basically in the mid to upper 80s. Here in the coastal areas, in the swamp areas of Louisiana and eastern coastal areas of Texas, in Fahrenheit, you're pushing 90 degrees. So it's going to rapidly intensify. If it slows down at all, if it gets in this area right here, you're going to see some kind of rapid intensification. So that's the latest update on model guidance, guys. I'll get y'all a better update tonight, really breaking down the dynamics of what is truly going on and what is driving this into the Gulf of Mexico and how strong that it really could possibly get. But that's all I got. Y'all have a great Thursday, and thank y'all for tuning in.